Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is live from the Hotel Edison. Times Square Chronicles presents. There was a musical on Broadway called Platinum, but we really didn't see a lot of it. Now it's about to open at the York Theater, totally rewritten and redone as Platinum Dreams. And starring in it and writing the books and additional lyrics is Stevie Holland. And we also have her husband who wrote the music to this, as well as to the Me Nobody Knows, Gary William Friedman.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. Tell me a little bit about Platinum, the original one, because this has a great story.
Do you really want to hear about it?
Should I?
I do.
I'll do maybe the Reader's Digest version.
My mother once said, Garola Darling. She always called me Garola Darling. In fact, I thought my name was Garola Darling. Anyway, if you can't say something nice about something, don't say anything.
Okay, that's why I'm going to take the Reader's Digest version.
Feel free.
Okay. Well, what you might not realize is that it actually started out as a show called Sunset that Will Holt and Gary William Friedman were working on after the Me. And there was a director, James Coco, who was developing it. It was a small, intimate show with 4 characters and an ensemble. And James Coco ran into Alexis Smith in the hardware department at Bloomingdale's and told her about it. There was this Hollywood movie star character and a rock star, and she got all excited and loved it. And she said, I'm on board. So the next thing that happened is James Coco got busy with something else, and a young character named T. Toon, the young Tommy Toon, came aboard, and the show opened in Buffalo under the name Sunset, and it was a big hit. It was a big dancing show, very different animal. And then Tommy had a falling out with producers. Gladys Rackbill was one of them, and he left the show. And so, boom, it was hot property.
It was heartbreaking, by the way. I mean, it was a heartbreaking decision.
Yeah, I was in junior high school, but I have heard this story many times, and this is why I can tell the story, because my heart wasn't broken.
Were you born? Were you born?
I was in junior high school then.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so here comes Broadway, and here comes Joe Layton, and they changed the show and called it Platinum. And a young Bruce Valanche came in to help maybe throw some gags in and pepper up the script and come aboard. But what happened with Joe's, from what I understand and have learned production, is he kind of took a lot of the spirit of the show out. Will Holt was pushed off to the sidelines. Hot tubs were put on the stage, and it got a little tacky and gaudy, and much of the score, the early Sunset, was taken out. And it was a very, Alexis Schoen, she was lovely, and there were elements to the show that were great. And I know there's a cult audience that has loved it since. But it got killed. And the regular New York Times critic was on vacation, and the substitute came in and really killed it. So when it closed, Will and Gary kind of licked their wounds, and Will said, I want to take the show back. And so they actually recreated Sunset and opened it. It actually closed before it opened at the Village Gate with Tammy Grimes.
Oh, that's so sad.
So it went from Alexis Smith to Tammy Grimes, Sunset, and then boom, that's it. So it's been sitting, in the chest for years, and I don't know, about a dozen years ago.
But through the years, Stevie always said, Gary, that score, she really fell in love with the
Well, from
score.
all the different incarnations, Sunset had one score, Platinum had another score.
I wonder if she fell in love with me or the score.
I fell in love with you first.
Oh.
And then I fell in love with your music after.
That's the best way.
Listen, I was a toddler with the Me Nobody Knows, so it was a good thing that I discovered his. Anyway, so I spoke to Will Holt. He was a fan of my writing. He loved Linda, our show, Mrs. Cole Porter. And I said, Will, we've got it. The music has to get out there. And he said, Stevie, whatever you want to do. So for years we were working on it. We did a reading at the York back in 2016, and we were still calling it Platinum then. And Jim Morgan, to his credit, he loved it. It was very well received, but he said, this is not Platinum. This is a completely new show. So what I did was I took the score from all the different shows. I recast, recontextualized, sometimes combined 2 songs together. And
mashups, I love them.
Yeah, and then when we finally knew we needed more songs to really make the show, as we've been developing, I wrote a few new songs with Gary. So this is a whole new animal. It's 3 characters. We've drawn from, there is a Lila Halliday, the movie star, there is a Dan Harden, the rock star, but it's a triangle with 3 characters and former lovers, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very sexy, and the score is crazy, and we're really excited to get it out there.
And you're opening this Sunday.
We are opening, at the York Theater. It's part of their New to New York series. It's at modest production values, but a lot of lot of talent otherwise, and similar to their muftis that they did with costumes. We open March 8th. 2:30 matinee, and we run through, there's 2 matinees on the 8th and 9th at St. Jean's Church, and you can get tickets at www.yorktheater.org, and lastly, it closes on the 16th, so see it while you can.
Now, you also have an album coming out. When we were talking,
Yes.
I heard about this, so
Yes.
let's discuss this album.
Yeah, well, it's life imitating art, imitating life. Yeah,
See, I'm so glad you're asking her all the questions.
Oh, don't worry,
I
I
don't
haven't.
like to talk.
I just haven't gotten to you yet.
yeah. Well, last bit about them. We're not going to talk about me anymore.
No, I wanna hear this.
Oh,
It is.
please, yes,
It is
please.
very richly, or it's 10 songs. There are originals that Gary and I wrote. I am actually covering a song from the Mina Bunny Knows, which I've never done in our 25 plus years. How I Feel. He's completely reorchestrated it with a string orchestra. I have a fabulous jazz trio, horn combo. And this is going to be, I haven't put out an album in several years, and it's going to be very rich, very theatrical. It's going to swing, and I'm very excited to do it. I feel very blessed to have the opportunity.
And you started off in cabaret and jazz.
I did. I was.
How many albums do you have?
Well, putting the inspirational pop one aside, this is, I think, my 7th or 8th, and then, of course, Love Linda, The Life of Mrs. Cole Porter, we put out an original cast album. One of my favorite lines was when we were in rehearsal, because it's a one-person show, and we were just getting into the heart of a scene, and the stage manager was calling 5 minutes, and Richard Volpe got so frustrated because all the equity rules, and he's like, why don't we poll the cast and see if they want to stop working? Of course.
I love him.
Yeah, yes, that was a great experience. Wonderful working together. But this is now, we've branched out to 3 characters, and I'm going to let Gary talk now.
Gary, well, I'm going to ask you both one of my favorite questions. They say that eyes are the windows of the soul, but I think songs are. What song or cycle of songs describes who you are?
What song?
Or cycle of songs.
You can pick more than one if you need to.
Describes who you are.
Oh,
This is not a yes or this is not a good or bad answer. This question, your answer should change moment to moment to moment.
well, I think my Yiddish mama.
Ah.
My Yiddish
I know
mama. It's a beautiful song. And there's something about, well, my mother was a singer. And she used to sing that song all the time. And every time she sang that song, something welled up within me. There's something so heartfelt about that and so beautiful about the lyric and the melody. So that was a big influence on me in a way.
I have to ask this question. Your mom's name wasn't Pearl, was it?
Her name was
Rosie!
Rose,
No,
Rosala.
there's a song called Pearl's a Singer, and I'm like, all of a sudden that's what went into my head.
Rose.
Okay.
Oh,
It's funny you
Stevie.
said
And
Pearl.
I'm already forgetting.
Stevie,
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. You said Pearl, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm reading the life of Pearl Mesta now. It's so interesting you just said the word Pearl. She's a fascinating woman, Fantastic. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
She was the source for Call Me Madam, and that's a whole other, yes. Anyway, I don't actually remember the question. My musical.
What song describes you right now,
Oh my goodness.
or your life right now?
Whew. Well, Jesus. Oh, sorry. What
You
is that?
can.
Oh,
Coming from an agnostic Italian Viking. It's one of the songs on the album, On a Clear Day. We're doing a cover of that. It's these times that we're living in right now. My soul is, to be excited about doing this new work and have this opportunity and still live in such challenging times with everything that's going on. I think I just need to rise above and try to see and try to guide, if I can guide, and inspire and touch. And so maybe on a clear
I think
day.
that's what's being called for right now. I just don't think most people understand that.
No.
Okay, Gary, time for you.
oh my God. Okay.
What composer inspired you, and where do you take your inspiration from?
Well, it's a good question. I studied classical composition, et cetera, but, we're looking at great composers like Stravinsky, and Schoenberg. These are the people who really, my ears go to those people, you see. And I started out as a jazz musician. You didn't know that, did you?
I did not.
Did you know that I played saxophone?
I did.
You did? Ah!
I did know that.
Well, anyway, I started as a saxophone player, jazz, etc., travel all over the country, and what?
No, he's doing
Oh.
it well. He's doing it better than me,
Yeah,
us,
see,
and definitely
I
me.
take my cues from Stevie. That's it. Yeah.
Go on. I just want you to
Anyway,
be heard.
so one thing led to another, and while I was on the road with this group called the Blue Chips, you didn't know that,
No.
and we performed at different clubs and on this
Strip
wherever.
clubs.
Yeah.
He,
And-
he told me about Trudine, the Quiver Queen.
I just have one thing to say. So did Bob Fosse.
There you go.
Well,
So-
Trudine, the Quiver Queen, was a stripper, God bless her, and, and everything quivered on her. That's how she got Trudine, the Quiver Queen.
I love the name.
Yeah, she was great. She was actually a wonderful woman. But in any event, so where was
Wait, did
I?
you write a musical about her?
I'm sorry.
No.
No.
Not yet.
Aw.
Anyway, so those were my influences, and I just gradually got into the jazz writing and classical composition. And Stevie was just talking about the album that we're going to work on, and it's going to, I hope, it's going to include my piano concerto. And,
Well, Gary, we're releasing also an album. Well, actually, it's coming out on the Navona Records label, but it's a follow-up to an earlier collection of Gary's classical works. There's going to be a piano concerto, a string quartet, and a chamber piece that Gary had taken from them. Nobody knows. He set some children's writings and poems who were in the Theresienstadt ghetto.
Oh,
I
my
never saw
God.
Another Butterfly. Yes.
Did
And-
you really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know this about me. That book was given to me when I was younger.
Oh.
Remember, I told
never-
you I'm doing a child's heart?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I was abused as a child,
Mm-hmm.
and I was given by a woman that had been in Auschwitz, who was a pianist, the book I Never Saw Another Butterfly,
Ah.
and I kept this book underneath my pillow
Oh,
till I got older, and then I gave it as gifts to
Yeah, that
people
is-
that I knew, and then
That's
it went out
amazing.
as print.
Right.
It's out of print now, but A Child's Heart is my version for now of that book.
Oh my God.
That's the whole reason why I do half the things I do. Is
oh my, that's amazing.
crazy.
I'm like, oh my God.
This
I
is
love
definitely
it. That's
Bashir
great.
today, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's beautiful. It's a chamber orchestra. There's
Oh, I wanna hear
a lyric
this.
baritone and a young child soprano. That's for the two vocals. But it's really lovely.
Oh, I definitely want to hear this because
Yeah.
the reason that I love this so much is that these children went through the worst things that anybody could ever go through.
Horrible, horrible.
And that book is full of hope,
Exactly.
of peace, of creation, of inspiration.
Yeah.
They never lost it. They never lost their
And
faith.
humor.
They never lost
There's
it.
some funny.
Oh, yeah, there's some really funny things
There's
in it.
one about a little mousey. It's really, it's an amazing work.
And now I'm going to take us back to Platinum Jazz.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm like, wait, why are we here? Because
But you don't
I think
understand.
we're going to have to,
This is kind of what
we're going to have to
happens.
do lunch very soon. Yeah.
This is kind of what happens in the podcast. Like, they never go to where I think they're going.
But I just want to make sure that everybody knows what they should know about it. So did we tell them everything? Or first of all, we have a wonderful director.
What's your favorite song from it?
Oh,
and why?
no, I don't have a favorite song. And I've written some
Oh,
songs. Now I've written
come
some.
on. We
No,
all have
no.
favorite children.
There are too many. There's a crazy song that we call The Network Man. That's a rap song that Dan sings. That's a Will Holt lyric, and he was prescient. He wrote it in the 1980s, and you could, the way he talks about the NRA and about right-wing America in the song. My goodness,
Yeah,
it's
but
it's
see,
just.
the song that you sing from now.
Well, Gary and I wrote a song. Well, we needed a song for live. First, I just want to say we have a wonderful director, Joseph Hayward, who is the interim artistic director of the York, is directing the work, and Cody Giron choreographing. We have a wonderful team, and my two co-stars are. I'm so excited to work with.
Oh, you have Colin.
Connor Ryan.
Connor.
And yes, and Giovanni Sean, who we have not worked with before, wonderful as Jamie Styles, and they're both tall, so I can wear heels, which I'm very excited about. But we felt that Lila needed a song at the end because Lila it's the reason it's not about a comeback. A lot of, again, different than the early Platinum. Lila's been there, done it, but she had songs from all of her movies, but she never had her own album. And she's just at an age that while she still has her chops, she just wants to put an album out, and it's very meaningful to her. But she lives in the past a lot. There's the brilliant song that Will and Gary wrote called Nothing But, and she lives in old Hollywood. She's always yearning. She wants to record one of her old movie songs, and they try to get her away from that because they really want her to move into the future. And by the end of the show, she really knows it's time to let the past be the past. And we wrote a song called From Now On, and that's one of my favorites. Okay.
This sounds like Sunset Boulevard, but she had a therapist.
Well, it's a totally different trip. And back in the day, when it was originally called Sunset, there was a hint. So way before Lloyd Webber's Sunset Boulevard, this show was kind of like a hip Sunset.
Not if you've seen this version.
Yeah.
I hate this version.
Okay.
I don't care who
we
knows.
haven't
I
seen-
don't care who knows
No,
it.
of course there's elements of, Lila Halliday, she's the former, there are elements of Sunset Boulevard, and that was always the case with this show. But it's fun, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and it really resonates. And when we did a concert version of it, and there were kids who came. Our director at the time had classes he was teaching, and they just went bonkers over it because they thought it was sexy and fun and exciting, and it is. It's something called entertainment. So that's what we're trying to do with this show is entertain you.
You mean there's actually shows that do that stuff?
Yes, that's what we're aiming. And we're not going to hit you over the head. We're not going to teach you any lessons. We're going to entertain you and hopefully touch you and have some fun.
What's next for both of you?
Well, the albums. Our plan was that the albums, but the York had changed its. There was a scheduling change because of a main stage production that was in the hopper. So this happened, and they said, "Hey," and Joseph was at our concert that we did at 54 Below. He knew this work, and they thought it could tie in. So this sort of came out of, we weren't planning this. This happened very quickly. So we're throwing it together very quickly. But the albums, I will record, and then I will be performing the album. Listen, if magic happens with Platinum Dreams, after the York, we'll move it to the next step.
I have to tell you, I think sometimes when things are done on the fly and everyone's so concentrated into what they're
Yeah.
doing, sometimes it's the best stuff.
Yeah, I think that's true, actually.
I mean, I normally like shows when they're done off Broadway before they move on Broadway, because once they get to Broadway, they get homogenized.
Yeah.
Like Hamilton's a prime example of this. I loved it. Off Broadway. On Broadway, it's okay,
Yeah.
but not as much as
it loses
would.
some of the spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love when things are raw and real.
Yeah. Well, this is. So we
Well,
hope we look forward to sharing it with you.
But the pressure creates also. Pressure creates
Right.
creativity in a way.
Yes.
Yes, I met with the director and choreographer today to just get a little heads up. We don't really start rehearsals till next week, and I had my script, so
Wait,
we're going
now,
over. Yeah.
They don't start till next week?
No, we throw. This gets the official rehearsals is 5 rehearsals, and then we open. It's a real tight.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah, but it's a modest production,
Wow.
so it's again this is not all about sets. There'll be lighting. There'll be.
Is there going to be any sets? Because I know Morgan used to do the most
yes,
amazing
well, this is not a
sets
main
around.
stage. Again, it's part of the
No, but
New to
even
New
for
York
the
series.
when
yeah.
he did the Mufties,
Yeah.
he still did these amazing sets that you're like, oh,
There will be elements, there'll be some projection probably, there'll be, but it's very much about the lighting and the material and the performances, yeah. And this is sort of, visually it's a Stark kind of work. It's not, it's,
well, I like Stark, so that's good.
there you go.
And I love Connor.
Good.
Magda's and my friend, Pat Addis,
Oh, sure.
who's a producer,
Oh, sure. I
did
know
Desperate
Pat.
Measures with Connor.
Yeah, I-
so
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
we've known about him for a long time.
Excellent. Well, we're looking to have a lot of fun. And,
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would love our audiences to know?
Well, we get along well.
We do. We
can
get we
tell.
get along.
You have chemistry.
We were introduced professionally, folks, 28 years ago. People get ideas and they don't know what the.
Yeah, but who introduced us?
Well, mutual friends. We know Carly Simon. Her two. Now they've both passed. But Joanna Simon, her oldest sister, and
yes.
was a beautiful opera singer. And her husband, Jerry Walker, he actually wrote the book Cruisin'. He hated the movie, the screenplay. They destroyed his book. But Joanna and Jerry were fans of my singing and writing, and they were working on. Jerry and Gary were working on an opera together, and so. Gary his wife had been very ill for years, his first wife, and he was at a bad time in his life, and they They just had this, I don't know if they were angels or devils or what they had in mind, but they did introduce us professionally as songwriting collaborators. So that's how I met Gary. And we got to work, and then one thing led to another.
Didn't Joanna write Dr. Zhivago?
That's Lucy.
Lucy, sorry.
Yes, yeah, no, there's
Right.
three.
I forgot.
Yeah, and horrifyingly, they both passed within 24 hours of
Yeah,
each other. They
Right.
both
Very
had cancer.
Which is
sad.
why I'm like,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
You put them together and
yes, they're
yeah.
kind of like one person to me in a strange way.
Yeah, Lucy wrote Secret Garden.
Yep.
And yeah, exactly. And Joanna was a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lucy was the youngest.
No, Carly's the youngest. And
Carl-
Peter's younger than
Carl,
Carly.
right,
Yeah.
Carly,
Yeah. Anyway, and I recorded. Carly sent me music. I covered one of Carly's songs on an early, a couple of albums back. Riverboat Gambler. But we were
Oh, nice.
close with that family. Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like me to know?
We don't
Or my audiences to know?
We would like to stay mysterious.
Why? I'm trying to demystify you, not mystify
Oh
you.
well, I think we aren't we demystified enough?
I think so.
All right, it's such a pleasure meeting you. And
Thank
yes,
you
Yes,
so
finally,
much.
finally. in the
Yes.
flesh. Yes.
Yes, I believe me, for
Did you-
29 days, nobody saw me in the flesh.
Did you enjoy?
Well, we're glad
did-
you are in the
Did
pink
you enjoy
again.
talking to us? or-
I did.
Now
Very
he's
much
he's
so.
going to ask you who you enjoyed more. That's what Gary usually does. He used to do. We'll leave that alone.
You meld into each other, so I would see it's a joint venture.
There you go.
So I would say both. I would love to thank my guests today, Stevie Holland and Gary William Friedman. I am so grateful. Our videographer, Magda Katz, who always makes us look and sound good. To Ramel Lopez and the Hotel Edison for giving us a home. I'm Susanna Bowling. This is live from the Hotel Edison. Times Square Chronicles presents, and go see Platinum Dreams at the York Theater starting on the 8th of March.